State Representative-elect Shelley Luther of the Sherman area in Grayson County. Thank you so much. Welcome to Eye on Politics and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So here we are, the session is about to start, and the very first thing that you're going to be voting on is a speaker. You've come out and said you support Representative David Cook over Dustin Burrows. Why is that?
Well, first of all, it's who the Republican caucus nominated, and that's the rules that we follow, but it goes way beyond that. We came out with the Contract of Texas. Some of us new people and some of the incumbents came out with the Contract of Texas, which is more about reforming the Texas House so it's more fair, it runs more smoothly. People that have bills, they can make sure that they get heard. We make sure that the speaker doesn't have too much power, because sometimes that's been an issue as well. And so when David Cook came out and said that he was for reform and he wanted to transform the House into something that is a working House, then we all got behind him, and that's who we vowed to represent, and we stood together, and that's why we were able to get him nominated in the speaker's race.
And has Dustin Burrows reached out to you to try to change your mind?
Not once.
Not once. Did
No.
that surprise you?
Nothing surprises me, because even when Dade Phelan, who's still the sitting speaker, has never reached out to me either.
And were you surprised when he decided to back out?
No.
Why not?
He had no way of getting back in there. And there's too many freshmen right now, especially too many freshmen, that are speaking for the people, and they want change. And we are very united. I will say that. I think that people noticed that we were united, and we've even teamed up with several of the incumbents now that are like-minded, wanting reform in the Texas House. And now all of us together are a driving force, and it's amazing.
And yet, at the same time, you've got Dustin Burrows with his Republican supporters and some Democrats that he says he's got in his corner. So it's not really united yet. What do you make of that, and how concerning is that to you?
I mean, I will tell you that every time that Dustin Burrows has come out and said that he has these speakers, it's turned out that it's not truthful. His list wasn't truthful. He had to come out and say, okay, well, people are like, I was not on that list. I'm not on that list. You can guarantee that every person that David Cook has put on his list is on the list, and because it hasn't been refuted. So I personally, as a freshman, can come in and say, I have all of these supporters, but until the day comes that we elect speaker, the proof is in the pudding, so we'll see.
And we've seen Governor Abbott issued a tweet last month saying whoever won the House GOP caucus nomination should be the nominee, the Republican speaker. The lieutenant governor has now come out and said the same thing. And Ken Paxton, as you know, has been touring, started in Fort Worth, and he's been touring the state, pushing this issue. What do you make of all these outside voices of the House saying this?
I don't consider them, I mean, I know that they're outside of the House, but it is their party, and it's an embarrassment, honestly, that Republicans can't come together and make a decision. In the past, you just go with the caucus nominee, and you go forward with that. And right now, I think someone saying, oh, no, that's not happening, I'm going to go off and do something else, is creating dissension. And it's giving the Democrats more power than they should in a majority Republican House.
So let's talk about the Texas Comptroller. On Monday is going to be formally announcing how much the state has to spend in the next legislative session. And right now, the estimates are that there's going to be a $20 billion surplus, and perhaps as much as $25 billion in the rainy day fund. And I'm wondering, when you hear that, what do you think Texas needs to do? Let's start with the surplus.
Tax relief. Our property taxes are crazy high in Texas, and people are getting taxed out of their homes. You don't own your home in Texas ever. You could pay it off, but if you don't pay your taxes, you don't have a home. We have got to give them some property tax relief immediately, and that's first and foremost.
So additional relief.
Absolutely.
And are you saying that if it is in fact $20 billion, all $20 billion should go to that, or are some of that and that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I'm a believer in the rainy day fund, like keep money in that. But if we have an excess amount in the normal spending budget, we need to do whatever we can to get money back to the people that are paying an overwhelming amount of property taxes.
And what about renters? I mean, we've heard, renters say, look, I don't own property, I can't afford to buy a house. What do you think they should be given some kind of relief? And I don't know if it's legal in the state to actually give a direct, I think Lieutenant Governor said that a couple years ago, the state is not allowed to give residents, a check, a direct payment.
Right.
So is there another form? I mean, should there be another tax holiday? Should there be a reduction in state sales tax? Where do you fall on that?
Well, I can tell you as a business owner right now, I'm having to pay, more for leasing my business and all of the other expenses that are going on. That's causing me to have my tenants have to pay more to lease space in my salon. And it's the same way with people that own houses. Someone owns that house, someone's paying property taxes on that house. So if their taxes go down, then they can float that down to the person that's actually renting the house as well.
One other thing, when I've interviewed a number of lawmakers and asked them about, this, what does the state do with the surplus? There's a lot of talk about infrastructure, water, roads. Some lawmakers say we need to pump more money into schools. So where do you fall on that?
Well, living in a rural district, Grayson County, District 62, most of it is completely rural. I know that there are different places, different districts that are wanting water from our district, which I'm actually going to protect. I want to protect our district. I mean, I love Dallas. My salon's in Dallas. I want to help the people there, but my district comes first and I'm going to protect it. But we do need infrastructure and all of those things. I have dealt with some of the people that, the developments and all of that are trying to come in, and they're very willing to help with infrastructure coming in, and that's part of the process of them being okay, we can't stop all these people from coming into our district. It's coming, right? But if you're gonna come, you're gonna make sure that you're going to help us build the infrastructure as well. And so maybe along with some help from the state and the developers willing to pay a cut of that, we'll be okay with that.
Well, in the Sherman area, there's a lot of new technology coming, right? Because you've got chip plants that are going to be built there, and a lot of new home developments that you spoke a little bit about before. So that is a growing area.
We do. We have TI. We have Global Wafers there. Those are one of the most expensive privately owned companies, like in the whole state. And so we've got a lot going on, like cement kilns and things that are happening. They're trying to build too close to those manufacturing plants, the chips, and we're having to manage that because you can't have vibration and air quality and all of the things right up next to those big companies. So our district has a lot of stuff going on inside that we're already filing legislation for.
And let's talk about school choice. And Governor Abbott has said he thinks he's got the votes in the Texas House to pass it now. What are you going to be looking at as far as what's going to be in a bill? What requirements, what are your must-haves in that kind of a bill? Because, we saw a lot of different bills the last session, none of them passed, obviously. But what is your must-have in a bill like that?
For school choice, of course, we're all on board with that, with school choice. And I'll tell you, like I said, being in a rural area, it doesn't really affect my district very much, but I understand the need in other areas for parents to have the choice and the money to make sure that their kid is going to a safe environment where they're learning basic math and reading skills. It's very important. But for my district, I've visited a lot of the school districts, and they are living on, it's a lot of 2, 3A school districts. You don't have these gigantic turf stadiums and all of this stuff going on. It's literally like metal buildings and the minimum amount to just have what they need for the school. So for mine, the teachers need a raise. They need a raise because when it's like $40,000 to $45,000 that a teacher makes in that district, in some of these smaller schools, that's just not a living wage. I was a school teacher for over 13 years, public school teacher. I was a coach as well. I don't see that ridiculous spending going on in those school districts. So how do we not only get teachers there, make sure that kids are going to school to be a teacher because we're going to run out of teachers, but also how do they retain those teachers? So that's what I'm looking for. It shouldn't be because you decide to work in a rural school district that you should make less than someone that's working in a big district. You're doing the same job.
So when you talk about that, I mean, do you have a dollar figure in mind that you think teachers should be getting paid more? How much more? And is this something where lawmakers need to set aside specific dollars requiring the school districts saying, hey, look, we're giving you this amount of money, this needs to be spent on your teacher salary, bumping up the teacher salary?
I definitely do not have a problem with that. And I think a school teacher at minimum should make $60,000. In this day and age with inflation, especially if someone was like a single mom or single dad, how are they going to even live without making at least that amount of money? And why would I go to college to be a teacher if I'm not even going to make $60,000? And right now we have some that are making $15,000. You know, the minimum teacher salary in Texas is $35,000 or something like that. You could definitely work at Walmart or Buc-ee's and make that amount of money.
So are you making a case for the state to make sure and give the funding for it, so that every starting teacher in Texas in a public school makes $60,000?
I want to see that happen. I don't know what it looks like to make that happen because I need to see what the bills look like and where the money would come from. But we definitely don't want to throw a blanket amount of money to a school district and let them do whatever they want, because there's some school districts that are not spending the money wisely and they're not putting it on the front lines where teachers are.
So you're saying, make sure that the school districts would have to abide by that.
Absolutely. It would be restricted to only teacher pay.
And border security, obviously a big issue. And one of the things that we saw with President-elect Trump, he's now obviously going to be taking office, he has called for a crackdown at the southern border on illegal immigration. And after the election, Governor Abbott suggested that once the federal government ramps up its program, that perhaps the state could spend less on its border security efforts. What do you think about that?
In Texas, we need to get the wall put up, whatever it takes to get the wall put up. But that doesn't stop the whole border from coming in, and that doesn't keep the drugs and the sex trafficking and all of the things that are coming through our border. I do think we need to concentrate first on the people that are committing crimes, the felons, the sex trafficking, like I said, and all of those things those people need to be deported immediately. And then we need to make our system better as far as immigrants coming into our country and into our state. We need to make the process easier so hardworking Americans, if they choose to move their family here, they have that choice and don't have to wait 10 years or longer to make that happen.
And as far as I know there's a bill, I think, by one of the state senators who has proposed eminent domain for border wall construction, because what we have seen is private property owners along the border who have decided they don't want a wall on their property. Mm-hmm. Where are you on that issue? Is that something where, in that instance, private property rights, are they still champion, or in that instance, is it okay for the state to have eminent domain on that issue?
I think that the state right now is buying up a lot of that property right now at market value to be able to put that wall down. I just went to an event that was on the border, and it was discussed with us that they bought that property. It's also like a place for a deportation center and all of those things. But as much as I don't want government interference, the wall is very important There's a lot of ranchers, farmers, people that live on that border. I don't think there's going to be a lot of them that are going to be against putting up the wall because they're having a lot of dangerous destruction that's going on their property right now. Like they're finding dead bodies on their property. So I think anything that we can do to protect them, they're going to be for.
You brought up your hair salon in Dallas, and for people who may not be aware, maybe they're new to Texas, during COVID, you kept your salon open, defied the state rules, and you were jailed for it.
I was.
And so I know in your latest campaign, Governor Abbott actually endorsed your campaign. And so I'm wondering, did you ever talk to the governor, have a conversation with the governor about all this?
I have not sat down with him. It's honestly because we've never been like alone together where it was appropriate to talk about that. He did invite all of the freshmen to the governor's mansion where we can meet him and talk to him right after the March primary. But I'm not going to bring that up, in front of all of these people. That's a conversation I think that the governor and I need to have somewhat privately, just to hash it out. I'm not mad about it. As a matter of fact, I honestly think he was in a really tough position at that time. I don't know what I would have done if I was the governor. I just knew in my little world with my little salon and the people that worked for me, I was doing what I thought was best for us and them. And I'm sure he was doing the same thing. It went a little sideways and I ended up in jail, but I don't regret it. And if it were to happen again, I would do it again. Like Governor Abbott has already stated that we would not shut down in Texas again. But if that were to happen, I would do it in a heartbeat, all over again, immediately.
Any hard feelings?
No.
Why not?
Why should I? It's politics. If I have hard feelings and I'm going to cry about everything that happens to me, I'm in the wrong business. You've got to just shake it up, shake it off, get with the people that are going to do the right thing and make things happen. And that's what I'm all about.
You recently wrote a book, Courage to Stand.
My husband wrote it,
Your
yes.
husband wrote it.
Yes.
And so, and you've really also gone through some serious health challenges, and the fact that you are here is a miracle.
It's a miracle. There's no other way to explain it.
You survived a brain aneurysm.
I did.
So, what can you tell me about that? Because that's it's a life-changing event. Most people don't survive it. Right. How did you?
I can only tell you God is good. That's the only thing that I can explain because even my doctors are surprised. I also had 8 strokes in a week because I had so much blood in my head from the brain aneurysm. That was April 4th of 2023. I was in ICU for 26 days. Both hospitals told my husband I probably wouldn't make it through the first night, and I ended up walking out of there. I had a lot of speech impediments. I lost a lot of my vocabulary that I've had to learn back, and it was really hard. It was really hard to come back.
And they don't know how you were able to survive it.
I have to, Medical City in Plano, I'll have to give them props. They saved my life, and along with them and God, there's no scientific explanation. When I went to go, talk to the neurologist a couple months after in my healing time, she was shocked that I could speak, walk, all of the things because of what I had gone through.
Wow. Last question to you, and how is all this, the fact that you were jailed, the fact that you survived a brain aneurysm, how has that shaped your role now as a state lawmaker?
I can tell you that when I was first running my first race in 2020 for state senate, I would have told everybody, and I thought in my own mind, I was ready for this. Are you ready? People kept saying, are you ready? You don't have any experience. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready for it. But in my mind, I really believed that. After going through 3 campaigns and learning a lot, and I still need to learn a lot. I'm not saying I know everything. I need to learn a lot. But after that brain aneurysm, I will tell you, I feel unstoppable with God by my side at all times. The coat of armor that I have on me, I was so mad when I lost the first two. I'm like, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, I've been so obedient, you know? But I felt him say afterwards, after the brain aneurysm and after I won, I felt him say, now you're ready. And so now I am. And I'm so looking forward to representing the people, not of just District 62, but all of Texas. And I can't wait to go back and look him in the eyes and say, I did it, and I did it for you, and I did it for him.
State Representative-elect Shelley Luther of Grayson County, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.